Welcome everyone to today's workbook discussion on Zoom. Welcome also to all who join us later by watching or listening to this recording. I'm Laura Fenimore, the Chief Development Officer and Volunteer Coordinator with the Foundation for Inner Peace, the scribe authorized publisher of A Course in Miracles. We really appreciate your partnership with the Foundation. And if you want to learn more about the Foundation or A Course in Miracles, please visit ACIM.org. If you feel inspired to make a love offering, please visit ACIM.org, and at the top of the page, you will find the word donate. All donations support the work of the Foundation. Each session will be delving into a discussion of the workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles led by a moderator team of volunteers that work with the Foundation. What does discussion mean? In our gatherings here, we welcome the Holy Spirit to join us. Through this presence, our meeting becomes a joining of equals to commune with the Holy Spirit's guidance to experience miracles together. Some of the moderators here also support our social media channels, and if you'd like a list of FIP resources, please email support@acim.org, and we'll be happy to share the resource list with you. Now let's begin our discussion.
Hi there, everyone, to today's discussion of the workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles. Today we'll be looking at lesson 79, but before we start doing that, I would like to take a moment of quiet to center our minds. Settle comfortably in your chair and close your eyes if that feels okay with you. Gently breathe in and out at your own pace. Imagine a clear blue sky, open and empty. Occasionally, a wisp of cloud may appear, and when it does, you'll watch it glide across the wide expanse of blue, without any attachment to it, until it is out of view. The clear blue expanse of sky is like your mind. It is like the one mind we share with Source and all of creation. Occasionally, a thought may appear, as it may do so now, and when it does, you'll watch it glide across the wide expanse that is your mind, without any attachment, until it has dissolved. You have no need of random thoughts. You can safely let them go. Focus on the clear, empty, receptive space that is your mind, that is our mind. This receptive inner space, this place of inner peace, is where we are connected with our Source and with each other. This is where the Holy Spirit speaks to us. Rest in that peaceful place a while. Know that this inner place of peace is always there for you. It is there now, when we are focusing on it together, but it is also there for you when you are going about your business in your daily life. This place of peace calls you to remember it and live your life from it. The following prayer is adapted from lesson 221. Peace to my mind, let all my thoughts be still. Father, we come to you today to seek the peace that you alone can give. We come in silence. In the quiet of our heart, the deep recesses of our mind, we wait and listen for your voice. Our Father, speak to us today. We come to hear your voice in silence and in certainty and love. Sure, you will hear our call and answer us. Now do we wait in quiet. God is here because we wait together. Jesus reassures us that our Father will speak to us today and that we will hear. Let us accept Jesus' confidence, for it is ours. Our minds are joined. We wait with one intent, to hear our Father's answer to our call, to let our thoughts be still and find his peace, to hear him speak to us of what we are, and to reveal himself unto his Son. Amen. Now gently come back to our shared space here on the internet and smile to your fellow travelers on the journey without distance to a goal that has never changed. It's so good to see you all. Today we will be looking at lesson 79, because last week we completed our study of lesson 78. So if Maggie, if you could pull up lesson 79 in the share screen. We've asked Jeanette and Andrew to read for us in turn. And so the lesson is 79. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Jeanette, if you would start, please. And then unmute yourself first.
There we go. Okay, sorry. A problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. Even if it is really solved already, you will still have the problem because you will not recognize that it has been solved. This is the situation of the world. The problem of separation, which is really the only problem, has already been solved. Yet the solution is not recognized because the problem is not recognized. Everyone in this world seems to have his own special problems, yet they are all the same and must be recognized as one if the one solution that solves them all is to be accepted. Who can see that a problem has been solved if he thinks the problem is something else? Even if he is given the answer, he cannot see its relevance.
That is the position in which you find yourself now. You have the answer, but you are still uncertain about what the problem is. A long series of different problems seems to confront you, and as one is settled, the next one and the next arise. There seems to be no end to them. There is no time in which you feel completely free of problems and at peace. The temptation to regard problems as many is the temptation to keep the problem of separation unsolved. The world seems to present you with a vast number of problems, each requiring a different answer. This perception places you in a position in which our problem solving must be inadequate and failure is inevitable.
Jeanette, if you would unmute
Oh,
yourself.
Okay, sorry. No one could solve all the problems the world appears to hold. They seem to be on so many levels, in such varying forms, and with such varied content, that they confront you with an impossible situation. Dismay and depression are inevitable as you regard them. Some spring up unexpectedly, just as you think you have resolved the previous ones. Others remain unsolved under a cloud of denial and rise to haunt you from time to time, only to be hidden again, but still unsolved. All this complexity is but a desperate attempt not to recognize the problem, and therefore not to let it be resolved. If you could recognize that your only problem is separation, no matter what form it takes, you could accept the answer because you would see its relevance. Perceiving the underlying constancy in all the problems that seem to confront you, you would understand that you have the means to solve them all, and you would use the means because you recognize the problem.
In our longer practice periods today, we will ask what the problem is and what is the answer to it. We will not assume that we already know. We will try to free our minds of all the many different kinds of problems we think we have. We will try to realize that we have only one problem, which we have failed to recognize. We will ask what it is and wait for the answer. We will be told. Then we will ask for the solution to it, and we will be told. The exercises for today will be successful to the extent to which you do not insist on defining the problem. Perhaps you will not succeed in letting all your preconceived notions go, but that is not necessary. All that is necessary is to entertain some doubt about the reality of your version of what your problems are. You are trying to recognize that you have been given the answer by recognizing the problem, so that the problem and the answer can be brought together and you can be at peace.
The shorter practice periods for today will not be set by time, but by need. You will see many problems today, each one calling for an answer. Our efforts will be directed toward recognizing that there is only one problem and one answer. In this recognition are all problems resolved. In this recognition, there is peace. Be not deceived by the form of the problems today. Whenever any difficulty seems to rise, tell yourself quickly, let me recognize this problem so it can be solved. Then try to suspend all judgment about what the problem is. If possible, close your eyes for a moment and ask what it is. You will be heard and you will be answered.
Thank you both for reading. All right, let's go back to the top and we'll take it paragraph by paragraph. Lesson 79, let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. I'll quickly read paragraph 1 so we can focus on that. A problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. Even if it's really solved already, you will still have the problem because you will not recognize that it has been solved. This is the situation of the world. The problem of separation, which is really the only problem, has already been solved. Yet the solution is not recognized because the problem is not recognized. All right. Who would like to share an insight, an inspiration, or who would like to pose a question and pick everybody else's brain? Nanette, go ahead.
Hi. Hey, family. Good to be here. Wow, that lesson is just so juicy and delicious. First thing that comes to me in that first paragraph is I cannot do a spiritual bypass. And some of us have heard that, and if we have, but a spiritual bypass is where I'm trying to, that denial, I'm trying to cover over, I'm trying to look at a lot of different things and say, well, the blame game, well, it's this and it's this and it's this, and there is only one problem. And that was the decision that separation is even real in the first place. And the projection or whatever's happening out there, I think that's the problem. But for me, what it's saying is the identification of the falsity. There's got to be the recognition. It's as if in order for me to open up to what already is, the onion has to be peeled. And those are my words. Those are the types of words that work for me. Everybody else is going to use different words, and I've got to be authentic with what works for this over here, right? So it's sort of like uncover, discover, discard, and forgive, these layers. And as we were reading through that lesson, I was thinking, and for my own journey, it's been a journey of studying a lot of faith healing and faith healers, which they never really, in true faith healing, you don't focus on the sickness or the problem. It's what's underneath all of that, which is exactly what that lesson is pointing to. But when Jesus did healing, there would be an identification of something, but never a conversation with it, because that wasn't the real problem. It was what was behind it, and the recognition. I am a spark of the divine, just like everybody here. So it's this peeling away and something about identifying the gremlin and recognizing what the real problem really is. Like, oh, well, I think that whatever it is, an argument with somebody, and that person is doing something or appearing to do something. That's the problem. No, it's not. But I've got to look, not stare, observe, not absorb, and non-judgmental awareness. In the world of duality, and I was listening to some Ken Wapnick last night, duality will be used to bring to non-duality. So I'll look, I'll observe, I'll spot it, and then I bring it to the altar and I recognize the unreality of it. And underneath it, therein lies my wholeness, my holy wholeness, which has never changed. There's the light. The mirror was cloudy and dirty, but I had to see that it needed some Windex and in that dualistic sense. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, home. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Nanette. You sort of encapsulated the work of the course in that little speech of yours. Lovely, thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, you're getting many hearts, I can tell. People relating to your take on it. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to paragraph 2. So one says that you cannot solve a problem if you don't know what it is. And there's only one problem, as Nanette was telling us, and as the lesson actually says. Number 2, everyone in this world seems to have his own special problems, yet they're all the same and must be recognized as one if the one solution that solves them all is to be accepted. Who can see that a problem has been solved if he thinks the problem is something else? Even if he's given the answer, he cannot see its relevance. Yeah, so this begs the question, and I think Nanette already answered it, at least partly. How do you go about it? So if all the problems are the same, they must be recognized as one if the solution that solves them all is to be accepted. So how do you do that? If somebody would like to address that or anything else that this paragraph sparks in you, please go ahead and raise your hand. Megan.
I was having a discussion with my roommate because she was freaking out over bills. Like she got some bills in the mail and I gave them to her and she went, ah, and I said, a minute ago before I handed you the bill, you were okay. And I said, the minute I handed it to you, you freaked out. I said, if I set it over here, I said, are you still going to think about it? And she's like, well, I know it's there. And I go, but a minute ago you were fine. And now you're upset. And I said, it's the difference of saying, I said, just because it's in front of you doesn't mean you need to open it. Just because you open it doesn't mean you need to invest in what's in it. And just because it says you need to pay a certain amount doesn't mean you have to do it now, today. And I said, the more you realize that it's how you address what's coming in and how you attach to the meaning, and then you get your feelings involved into it, the more you give it the power to upset you. And I said, if you just, for me, it's a spectrum thing where I say, 5 minutes ago I wasn't upset, 5 minutes from now I won't be upset, or however long it would take her. But I say, well, what's the difference? And I said, right now I seem to be involved in something, and it's that something that I need to let go of, is that, I am choosing this. This may be a catalyst, but I realized for her and for myself at the time that it's fear, that I'm all caught up in fear, and then fear brings on all these secondary or tertiary emotions. And each time I have to remind myself, no, everything will be fine. I will be fine. This will be fine. My emotions don't have to get involved in it if I choose not to let them. And using the spectrum helps me realize that it's just a difference of moments, and I get to choose the moment I want to live in. And so, as Nanette was saying, it's that onion of saying, well, maybe not the onion, but where do I want to live? In fear and upset, or thinking this, like all things, will go along. I'll pay or not pay the bill, or some things will happen, things won't happen, but nobody's going to come in here and murder me. It's not going to be like that because I got a piece of paper in the mail. So just remembering to stay calm and to not be to not let the fear take over and then take you on a run somewhere, or to really use that spectrum. Say, I wasn't upset before, I won't be upset later. Now I can not be upset now if that's what I choose to do. Thanks.
Thank you, Megan, for that very clear example. Maggie, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. The word that was in my mind while I was listening to was just like detachment. Like just detach a little bit from it. And I appreciated your share. I raised my hand just because I just briefly wish to share. I'm going to bring the screen back up here. Just that I appreciate this first sentence in this paragraph. Everyone in this world seems to have his own special problems. And it goes on to say, yet they are all the same. And I appreciate that because I notice in my mind, and I assume others as well, the temptation to feel like sometimes there are certain problems. It's like, no, but this one's different. This one, no one else has this one. This one needs something different. It needs me to figure something out. And Johanna, you asked the question, just how do we practice this then? What do we actually do? And for me, it really is just, I mean, it's the same darn thing over and over, but it really is just being willing to remember what this lesson says. This is one of my favorite lessons. And it really is just remembering that, being willing to say, hang on, it's the same thing again. It's a different form, but it's really just the same problem again, being presented to me in an endless parade of different forms that the ego comes up with. And even just taking that moment to remember, like that second or the first sentence and second sentence we're saying there, like this, they're all the same. This one isn't really different. Some of them certainly seem more challenging in my experience than others, but I know that I'm taught that that's not actually true. And so I don't have to figure out how to get to the experience of really feeling that, but just being willing to be reminded of it is a big part of my practice.
Thank you, Maggie. That's very helpful. Megan, go ahead.
Maggie reminded me is that when they were reading the stuff, I thought problems are like those cherished grievances that you keep. And also I remembered the idea that we meet people when we tell them our story. And the story is all the definitions of the things that, either are going right or going wrong in our lives, but we're invested in them. And Maggie was saying detachment. I thought, it's interesting. We have these cherished grievances, these problems that we think that are special in our lives are all the same thing. And then also we hang on to these stories that we either see a doctor defines you as having this. And so you go, okay, that's me too. I'm an artist and I'm also about this. And so we have all this nice little gumball of stuff we get to chew on that we despise and hate and keeps us from recognizing that we're the light. And I was just seeing how Maggie was really bringing that to mind, that it's all the same thing. It's all these stories, all these grievances, all the problems, they're all the same thing. It's all keeping me from the love and being one with my source and realizing I really am okay. And what does my sister say? What if everything's just fine? What if everything's okay? Thanks.
Thank you, Megan. I love that. Bill and then Nanette. Go ahead, Bill. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay. Bless soul fam. How are you? Thank you, Megan. You inspired me to speak to something about when you said we have this story that we give new people that we meet, whether it be on the plane ride or sometime when you get the blessing to meet some new people in a setting that allows for a little bit of good, solid interaction, and we're giving our story. That's what we do. I've noticed since I really learned and understood the thing that I will not intrude the past upon my guest. It's that as soon as I learned that one a few years ago, that one stuck with me forever. So I've been always trying not to give my past to whoever I'm speaking with. So I've noticed that I've been able to not do that. And I'm there just to hear what their part is in it. And then for me to relay what the Spirit says through me about that. And that's all I'm there for. I'm not there to explain or give any part of my past because I'm intruding it on them. So I don't. And so I no longer have that story, which is cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. That was lovely. I can relate to it. Nanette, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull it up. What that was, you had asked a question, Johanna, about the, what I at least I perceived or what I heard, application. How do we apply? Like, how does okay, so now in practical application. And for me, in my experience, in my personal experience with this particular lesson, it says right here in what we just, the number 2, who can see that a problem has been solved if he thinks the problem is something else? Even if he is given the answer, he cannot see its relevance. There's that thick veil of denial. So for me, what was the application was deep experience of the unconscious guilt. I had to have a heart coherence of that. When the Course speaks of that there is this belief that somehow I killed God off, I made a separate universe, and I pulled the darn thing off. Holy moly. That is a deep mental activity. It's a groove. It's grooved in through appearing generations. So now here I am with the Course and the practical application. Recognizing Holy Spirit, correct my perception. Holy Spirit, Jesus, I fall back with Jesus and the Holy Spirit. I'm in the cinema, non-judgmental awareness. And I'm like, oops, the projection of the unconscious guilt. I went through a phase a while back where physical things were happening and there would be a healing. Faith healing isn't just so you can have a result of healing. That's not the point. Totally not the point. Not the real point of real healing is recognize. Oh, my computer just does that. There's a recognizing that nothing really happened. And that I somehow am holding some unconscious guilt and it's coming up so it can be exercised out. So for me, the application was the accepting of the recognition of the unconscious guilt, which is a falsity. It's a lie. It's an illusion. And I forgive it. Therein lies the application, humility. I become right-sized. I rest in the embrace of God's grace. And then that's the process for me, is how the course, is the application of that particular, because it's the application, the experiential part. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Nanette. That was quite on point. Thank you. Uma would like to share, and then Megan, and then Rich. Go ahead, Uma. You're muted. Yeah, then you can speak if you're unmuted.
Hi. First off, I haven't been to a whole one of these meetings before, and I'm just curious. You said raise your hand if you want to speak, and then I raised mine, and then you listed 5 other people, and then I raised it after that, and then you listed everybody, but then I thought, what's going on? I checked my videos on. Forgive me, did I do something wrong?
No, it's fine, Uma. It's just I don't see all the squares in one screen, and usually people use people use the icon. And if you use the icon, your square will move to the top, and I will see it. And I just happened to see you waving, and because you haven't spoken yet, I thought I'd give your turn. There's a we'll talk. Well, yeah, there's an icon. Raise hand.
Oh, there's an icon. Okay, thank you. Yeah. First off, your meditation was great. I went into the blue sky. I saw I was just smiling from ear to ear, and I did not expect that. I really appreciate that. Secondly, I spent this morning studying the lesson, which is today's is there's nothing in this world that I want, which of course, and all the lessons fit together. And I was realizing that, and I also really appreciated don't intrude the past upon my guest. Oh man, if I could get that one down, thank you. Now, that there's nothing in this world I want, and I want to be with the truth. And the truth is inside, it's out here. It's in here, and the answer, the problem and the answer are all in here. Oh God, this is great. And I really appreciated the reminder that there's only one mind that we're all sharing. And now I've been listening to Hoffmeister, and he was telling the story. He was standing on a boat, a ship with a woman, and they were chatting, and the foghorn, which was 2 feet behind him, went off. She jumped 12 feet off the ground, 4 feet off the ground. He didn't even flinch. And he said that was because in him, there is no belief that a sudden loud sound is anything is anything, right? So to him, it didn't even occur. And to her, it's a loud, scary sound. Being affected by sounds, I can relate to that. I thought it was a great story of a calm nervous system. And I do take exception with the sentence that it is to be expected that I would be nervous before running this group. I didn't expect it. And so I just wanted to say that it's not really to be expected, although it's totally okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Uma. That was lovely. Megan and then Rich. Go ahead, Megan.
I appreciate that, Uma. Also, Nanette, thank you so much for speaking up about the practicality and realizing the guilt. And I used to get upset with the course and see how many times it said that I was angry at God, I kill a God, and it's okay that I should feel guilty. And I started realizing that I focus so much on trying to embrace the joy that it says that we deserve and that we have, that I now give, instead of getting upset with the course and focusing on my frustration with it, I say, okay, well, really you're focusing on the joy. And so every once in a while I feel just ultimate joy and peace, that state of grace that the course says that you can have. And then I bathe in it. I just sit there and I go, wow, this is it. This is what the course is talking about. And so I wanted to tell people that when the course says things, you can really be reactive to it. When it says that you are guilty or you are that, it's speaking generally, like you may not feel it right now, but in general underneath. But just as it says that, it also says that you have bliss in you, you have peace in you, you have God in you, and there is moments of grace. And I wanted to point out that these things are tangible, they're here, they are now, and you can feel them, but you have to focus on them, and you have to get yourself in a position where you allow the peace to come in, because I think the course keeps telling us we're thinking we're separate. And when we realize we're not, we get to enjoy that. Thanks very much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Megan. Yeah, it's a two-pronged approach, isn't it? We have to do the work of looking at the shadow, and we also have to stay focused on all the good stuff. And so one doesn't go without the other, they go together. Thank you for stressing that. Rich, go ahead.
As far as the reread, when we reread it, which paragraph did we get to?
2.
Okay.
We just read 2.
Okay. I'm reading through the whole thing. I mean, I'll kind of stay here with paragraphs 1 and 2, but I mean, for me, you know, my understanding, I mean, I'm enjoying it. You know, the problem. So 1:1, a problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. And then it goes on a couple different times. It says, you know, the problem is separation. Fine. You know, but then really in real truth, you know, what does that mean to somebody? I'm not a non-dualist. I am not a non-dualist. My goal is not to lose my individuality. My goal is not, you know, there's only God and there's nothing else. The physical world doesn't exist. The people aren't really out there. No, that is not the message to me in this book, but that is the message that can be read. And so the problem of separation really is character growth. Nobody wants to admit that. The hardest thing in the world to do is to live morally, to really live what love is, an intense feeling of deep affection for others with kindness, gentleness, goodness, strength, all of it, joy, peace, phenomenal sense of joy and peace, zero guilt, doubt, shame, remorse, anxiety, fear, confusion, loneliness, worry, zero, like zero, and phenomenal sense of peace, joy, tranquility, love, goodness, care, consideration, has everything to do with what someone understands as, in ACIM terms, sinless, pure, and holy. I have absolutely no problems adding in the word moral, virtuous, righteous. It all has to be lived. And that's the real truth. That's the real separation. God the Father, the first person of the Trinity, who knows of himself as a person, is trying to extend himself in the sense of he wants everyone to be filled with joy and peace and goodness, no guilt, doubt, shame, or remorse. So the whole non-dualism theory is absolute stupid bunk nonsense. It is. But a lot of people read this book and they really want to believe that if I just somehow I'm not separate, whatever that means, I'll be enlightened. No, you won't. You'll be enlightened when you're fully, completely moral, loving, good, kind, tender-hearted, all of it, kind, polite, all of it. That is what you have to live. Live that, and then you'll find what real Jesus-like God consciousness is, what real Buddha enlightenment is. It has absolutely nothing to do with this concept of non-dualism.
Thank you, Rich, for sharing that. Megan, would you like to?
I have a simple question.
Oh, hold on. You would like to respond to Rich?
No,
Uma?
right before Rich, someone said that the course, we're guilty, and it never said that in there that I saw. I think she was slipping her sentences, and I wanted to check. Does it ever say we're guilty?
No,
No,
it doesn't say. It doesn't say we're guilty. It
It says we
it
believe
explains
we killed God. It
we
doesn't say we
feel
killed.
guilty. No, exactly.
Feel, yeah,
Exactly.
right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. I'm good.
okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, it was me. I was the one who said, yeah, it's Nanette who said that the feeling of guilt over the separation that they'd killed God. But I did want to respond to Rich, which is, I looked up the term moral because it's not a course. It says concerned with the principles of right and wrong behavior and goodness or badness of human character, derived from a code of interpersonal behavior. And I don't agree with Rich in the way that we never know what is right for another human being. So our moral behavior may conflict with somebody else's moral behavior, and our characteristics may differ across state lines or country lines or societal lines. And when we are in a non-dualistic way, we have to allow for other people to have their issues and not have them encroach upon our calmness. We have to be the calm in the storm. That's what the course is telling us. We get to be fearful, reactive, and justify our need for everybody to act morally according to our code, or we just have to say, it has nothing to do with me. The course says, join with people, see them, the Christ in them, recognize that anything that they do that upsets you is your fear talking, because it's an outward expression, an outward, what is it?
Picture.
Passion play, basically, projection of what's inside you. But if I project an idea of a moral code on those emotions, I'm actually setting myself up to judge the world. And I don't want to do that. That will bring me unhappiness beyond measure. Deciding what is moral, what is amoral, what is ethical, what is unethical. Those are the definitions that get us into trouble that the course keeps talking about, is these sidelines of let's debate how everybody should act, whether people should get this, do that, have sex for only babies, enjoy dancing in the rain nude. I don't care what they do. It's my reaction to them is what I have to be worried about, not whether I decide whether that's moral, ethical, good or not. It's my opinion and my perspective that needs to change, that brings me into alignment of being happy and joyous myself, letting go of the need to define what other people do around me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Megan. Rich, would you like to respond?
Sure, yes. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Absolutely. Freedom of speech, whatever you feel, please say it. I enjoy it all. I enjoy everything everyone says and everyone shares. Yes, I differ. I differ in my overall view. I could speak strongly about it. I could speak kindly about it. I mean, plenty of directions to go in. I mean, as far as your brother, I mean, there's a lot of sentences in this book about interacting with your brother from a loving standpoint. I mean, I absolutely stand by what I said, and anything that Megan, for example, just shared that contradicts what I said, I do not agree with. And I can use sentences in the book to back myself up. But that's the it's very easy to take a few minutes and explain whatever you want to explain in whatever way you want to do it. I mean, it's not hard to do. The only thing I'm thinking about as far as what I'm looking at in the lesson, 6.1, all this complexity is but a desperate attempt not to recognize the problem and therefore not to let it be resolved. So I'll say very strongly that the opinion of Megan, which is the opinion of most people who read ACIM, for me, you're living in complexity and you're doing it to not recognize the problem and therefore to not let it be resolved. I know in the text, the sentence is, this course is a guide to behavior, which has everything to do with morals. this FIP version uses the word good a lot. Good has to do with morals and the dictionary, the dictionary definition of the word good. But yes, ACIM, the author of ACIM, decided not to put the word moral in there, which is good because it attracts all the non-dualists to this book and groups like this so that we can share about. But that's one of my points is that, in the text, the sentence is, this course is a guide to behavior. Ken Wapnick didn't like it, so he took it out.
Yeah, well, the thing is that we have the blue book as a base for our discussion here.
Yeah.
So let's not get into that right now. Thank you
Okay.
for sharing. And Laura, would you like to share? You've been waiting a long time.
Yes, I would. Thank you. Rich, I love you. I think you're great. I'm finally beginning to understand where you're coming from. And what occurred to me while you were speaking is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, because people I've worked with have walked away. And I didn't understand for a while what was really going on. And I felt very responsible. This course is very, very different from everything else we've ever learned in our lives. And you can find a little bit of it in everything you can study on earth. Well, almost everything. But for me, I'm here because something I had been studying for many, many years only spoke about the body. I've only come to realize why I've been attracted to these rooms. Spirituality was missing. Believing in something higher than oneself, other than calling the higher thing my own consciousness. And it was always the title of the book that attracted me. The first one that I studied for many years with a lot of people was In Search of the Miraculous with the Gurdjieff group in New York. And over the time that I was with them, it always seemed to me that all the things that you mentioned just now were kind of missing in these people, because there was no connection with that which is highest, with God, with Christ, and no understanding of what Christ and God are all about. So I came here to find out what's going on, and I found out that I'm having difficulty with the terminology and the language that's being used. I keep hearing the old language that I learned for many, many years, and now I'm hearing a new language, and I'm like a baby. I'm learning what all these words mean. And they don't mean what I think they do, which is surprising to me, because I thought I knew everything about what reality was. But now I understand something that has given me amazing gifts since I started coming to groups, and not just reading, but coming to groups and discussing the course with other people. And I'm learning a lot of things about morality and all the things that you mentioned. And they mean something different to me now. And they all point to one place, one thing, and that is separation. So all of the definitions I had for all of those words that you mentioned are being reworked in my experience now. I'm a very experientially based person. I like to experience things. I don't like to just read things and imagine I know what's going on. And I like to know what words are, what words really mean. And I'm being shown that through these groups and through all you folks. And especially you, Rich, I'm really touched by you every time I see you and hear you speak. I love what you have to say. And the work is experiential. You have to experience those things. Is that what you're saying?
Go ahead, Rich. You've got
All
1 minute.
All right.
Oh, she asked you. She asked you if
okay.
that's what you were saying.
Right. I mean, what I can say is, yes, that's why it's a course. That's why there's daily lessons. That's why we go to groups. That's why, it's months, years, 10 years, lifetimes, whatever it takes to learn the real truth, whatever the real truth is. I have my feelings and thoughts about it. As I read ACIM and talk about ACIM, but I certainly have read other books, as we all have. So, the goal here is the capital T truth. That is absolutely the goal. The source is irrelevant. The goal is, what is the real truth? Is there a personal God who knows of himself as a personal being? If that's the truth, then it is the truth. I mean, for me, everyone is entitled to their 3, 4, 5 minutes about whatever they think, whatever they want to say. The main thing to me is, don't get rid of anybody. People hear me. Some people, a lot of people hear me and they say, I either have to leave the group myself or I have to get rid of Rich because, I can't handle, I don't like it. And that is always your ego, like my ego, anyone's ego. I am responsible for what I see. If someone says something I don't like, that's on me. That's not on them. I'm not supposed to kick them out of the group because they said something I don't like. The truth never has to be defended. Never. I can be quiet and still and not defend the truth, or I can say something about the truth. But these are the real principles that have to be worked. And I know phenomenal numbers of people, have to get rid of whomever because they disagree with what they say. That is absolutely incorrect. But it's done. So all I'm saying is, again, there's another sentence in the lesson that applies. I mean, it says there, perhaps 8.8.2, perhaps you will not succeed in letting all your preconceived notions go, but that is not necessary. All that is necessary is to entertain some doubt about the reality of your version of what your problems are. And if non-dualism is a completely false belief system, and it is, then, it needs to be let go of at some point.
Wait a minute. Are you saying, I'm getting confused here. Are you saying that are you saying you don't believe that we are one?
We're one in
There is only one.
Yeah, I know that is I know, Sharon, I know you're an absolute non-dualist. I know this, okay? I know. So, we're not one in that type of a literal sense. We are one with God in the sense that we are individuals. There's a sentence in the book. It says, God has given everything to everyone individually so that they can share their joy and their peace. That is a sentence in the book. We are individual.
Okay, well, I think I do think
we are
this is
individual minds and spirits. We are not a body, but that's it. The only thing that we're not is a body. We are an individual, capital M mind, capital S spirit of phenomenal joy, peace, goodness, Jesus-like way approach to it. That is who we are as individuals. We are not trying to lose and not be an individual mind or an individual spirit. That is Ken Wapnick's teaching. That is your teaching, Sharon. I know that's your teaching, but it's not the truth.
Hold on.
All right.
We are at the end of the hour, you guys.
Yeah.
We'll have to continue this next time. And I would like to ask everyone to stick with the topic of the lesson. And so for next week, I hope Andrew and Laura, if you could keep your insights till next week, that would be lovely. I do not want to go past the hour for the session.
That's okay.
Thank you,
Yes,
everyone,
thank you.
for your presence and
Thank
for
you.
your input, and
Thank
for
you,
your
everyone.
holding space for each other. And if you can stay for 2 minutes longer, I've got a closing prayer. But if you can't, if you have to run to an appointment, I understand that too. All right. Our closing prayer is adapted from the final lessons in the workbook. This holy instant would we give to you. Be you in charge, for we would follow you, certain that your direction gives us peace. And if we need a word to help us, he will give it to us. If we need a thought, that will he also give. And if we need but stillness and a tranquil, open mind, these are the gifts we will receive of him. He is in charge by our request, and he will hear and answer us, because he speaks for God our Father and his Holy Son.